Today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp.com, and I've been with them for a long time. BetterHelp is an online platform where we found that you can effectively communicate with your therapist. Now, you begin by filling out a questionnaire, and then you'll be matched with a therapist within a couple of days. And if that match isn't ideal for you, you can certainly make an adjustment there. Now, you're going to be encouraged to journal, and also they have the availability for group therapy on a wide array of topics, and I really like that. So as the need exists, go ahead and take the necessary steps to get the help that you need. And just know that BetterHelp has a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, so it indeed is a platform you can trust. There's a link below the video that will take you there. Having spent 40 plus years in the therapy office and thousands of counseling sessions, I can pretty much say that I've heard just about every story in the book. Now, you know that one of the things that I specialize in is the topic of narcissism. Actually, that's an offshoot of many anger workshops and efforts that I made as an anger management specialist, because I would realize that when people have deep difficulties with anger, inevitably it comes with a strong narcissistic bent. When you have an attitude of control towards other individuals, you think, it's my job to tell you how to think and how you're supposed to prioritize. And you have an attitude of selfishness where it's all about me, and as a result, you use and exploit people. When you have an attitude of superiority and you have no need to understand who they are, all of that put together is the pattern of narcissism, and it doesn't bode well for relationships. Now, it's one thing to say, yeah, that's kind of a crummy way to live. But in the therapy office, and I know in many of cases where you all are, you're living proof that says, well, but there are strong repercussions that come from that. There's a price to pay when you have been connected with a strongly narcissistic person, particularly over a long period of time. I've spoken with individuals who will agonize over key relationships that have been lost, whether it's a divorce that's come about, and with the divorce, a huge ripple effect. It may be that it impacts your relationship with your own children or perhaps grandchildren or friendships. Sometimes people will talk about, well, I've been kicked out of organizations because of the narcissistic individuals. Some people have lost jobs. The damage that these people can bring is substantial, and it's not something we should just slough off and say, no big deal. It's a big deal. Many of you can say that your life trajectory has been severely damaged because of exposure to strongly narcissistic people. We're going to state that up front. Now, is it wrong for you to have these emotional responses? And my reaction would be, well, it'd be weird if you didn't have it. I mean, you're not supposed to be treated in such a dishonorable kind of way. So in no way do you want to carry shame or guilt for saying, I just feel terrible about that narcissist. I don't like that person. That person has been nothing but a difficulty in my life. It's okay to say all of that. Now, the thing that would concern me most when I would be in sessions with individuals who've been exposed to this is that there are times when some people can be so stuck in their emotional turmoil that they can't grow. They remain tied to that narcissistic person, and it could be that that person's no longer physically present in their life, and yet they hold on to all of this emotional disarray. And at some point, if growth is going to happen, then we need to learn how to move beyond that. And again, I don't say this lightly. It can be a long-term process, which is why patience can be so necessary. The one sign that I would watch for that would tell me that a person is in a ready position is this. When that person can say, I'm ready to lay down my resentment and my bitterness, then I know that we're going to go somewhere. Because narcissists make it so easy to feel bitterness and resentment. Because there's such an obnoxious element that they bring. But at some point, you can decide yourself, enough's enough. I'm finished. I'm done. I don't want to be defined by that bitterness. I don't want to be defined by my woe is me attitude. I'm ready to move on to something else. Now, in order to get to that place, there are multiple truths or acknowledgments that you'll have to hold on to that will keep you in a forward trajectory. And they're not necessarily positive truths, but nonetheless, here they are. Let me run through several of them with you. First, one of the truths that you'll need to hold on to is this, and that is I accept that most narcissists, at least the one that I've been dealing with, is stubbornly unwilling or perhaps even incapable of making adjustments. They've proven it hundreds of times over, and I don't think the next time that I talk to them about it is I'm going to get any different results. I get it. They're just not willing to have insight. It's not in there. Or another truth that you can hold on to is I cannot fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. Ultimately, it has to come from their inside. I can't externally force it on them. They have to want it from the inside out, and narcissists can be so self-impressed or so tightly defended that it's just not going to happen. In addition, these individuals will draw the conclusion, I like fairness, I like justice, but sometimes that can be fleeting because I live in a cruel and harsh world at times. Now, not everything about the world is cruel and harsh, but sometimes it is. Sometimes you have really positive experiences, but at the same time, we can't ignore the fact that this is a broken world, and we live among broken people. We have brokenness ourselves, and so when you bring all of that together, it's just not a shock when we say difficult things happen and justice is not served. In addition, those individuals who are ready to move on can acknowledge, I don't feel the need to let go of my moments of grief or regret. See, when we say we're going to grow and move on, it doesn't mean that you shrug and say, okay, I'm over it. There are times when you'll continue to have that kind of reaction, but at the same time, you're not threatened by it. I'm one of these that believes that out of our pain and out of our suffering can come a search for meaning. And these individuals who experience the grief and they've had the losses that they've had can go down to the basics and say, okay, now that I'm left with what I have, where do I want to go? What is it now that gives me meaning? And meaning can be very powerful, particularly after a certain amount of suffering. It's an odd way to get there, but nonetheless, that's when you can have your greatest growth. I'm not threatened by that. In addition, these individuals can say, you know what? I've dropped my sense of shock. I'm not surprised anymore at whatever that person might do. You look at your earlier times when you've been with that narcissistic person, and you can have all these, you register all these thoughts. I can't believe that they're being this way, or why would anybody do this way? And it implies that you're shocked that it's happening. As you move forward and you drop your resentment and your bitterness, it's like, I'm not shocked anymore. When I hear the next bit of news about that person, I'm not going to say, oh, I can't believe it. I believe it, and it doesn't surprise me. Now, in addition, and this is key, I'm hoping that you can say, along with these individuals who can grow, I now believe that despite the unwanted repercussions, I can figure it out. I may figure out things that are not exactly the way I want. It's not the design that I started out my adult life with, but I'll figure out a good, solid plan B. I'm tired of staying inside of my own anger traps. Not that the anger in and of itself is wrong, but I just don't want to keep going back to that because the anger can turn into something that's very ugly. In addition, these individuals can say to themselves, I'm no longer going to be consumed by the narcissist's inaccurate portrayals about me. Of course, my thinking is, well, of course they're going to give inaccurate portrayals. They're guided by a false self, false, inaccurate, not true. And so it doesn't shock me when they say terrible things about who I am. I understand that in my pain I can still move forward. And I'm in that process. I'm going to treat myself fairly. The narcissist didn't, but I'm going to make sure that I expose myself to characteristics, to people, to circumstances that are right and best and good. Then this is so hugely important. Then these individuals who are able to move forward will say, I'm going to keep my eyes out for other individuals who have similarly suffered. Sometimes when you can put your arm of encouragement around another person's shoulders, whether you talk about your own personal set of issues or not, and you just let them know, I love you, I'm there, I'm with you, I know what you're dealing with, that can be so healing for you. It can be kind of a full circle kind of thing. So I understand that there are times when you have and you will experience ongoing repercussions, and my heart goes out to you. I'm sorry on your behalf that you have to deal with these kind of things, but there are simply some truths that are just going to remain true and ugly at the same time. But when you get to that place where that one statement says, I'm ready to let go of my bitterness, I'm ready to let go of my resentment. At some point, it may have been important to me as part of my self-preservation. I have other things that I'm going to tend to. I want to live my life with dignity, respect, and civility leading the way. The narcissist doesn't define me. And even though I've had losses with that person, I still have my integrity, and that's what defines me. Now, the bottom line, I pity any narcissistic individual who wallows in hatred and is an exploiter of other individuals. But I choose to cut the cord from that individual. Instead, I believe in love over hate. I hope you hear that, and I hope you make that your mantra. I believe in love over hate, and if the resentment and the bitterness gets in the way of that, then love wins. I conclude that I'm at my best when I am devoted to kindness and love, and that starts with me being kind and loving toward myself and then extending toward you. I hope that you can get to that place. Now, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, I encourage you to do so. I consider it to be a privilege to be able to speak into these issues with you and on your behalf. And so just know that I appreciate you allowing me to be a part of your journey. Now, many of you know that I've been sponsored for years by the people at BetterHelp.com. It's an online therapy resource, and I believe in therapy very strongly, obviously, because I are one. But it's as you're able or as you can, go beneath the link that we have below the video. There's a few questions to answer, and then you can select a therapist you can work with. Since the pandemic, we've learned that online therapy can be quite effective. So invest in yourself and get the help that you would need. In addition, if you go to my website, you'll see that I have a lot of resources. And I've done this because it's part of the culmination of my many years of experience. The primary things inside the website are my courses. I've got 4 of them, and each one of them has at least 25 teaching videos with handouts and guiding questions. They're on anger management, on maintaining boundaries, finding yourself despite the controllers, and having healthy connections. In addition to those, we also have my webinars, which are 90-minute PowerPoint presentations. All of that is meant to bring healing, I hope, to you, in addition to many articles, my books. So lots of resources there. Please invest in yourself and get the help that would be available to you. You know, there are plenty of reasons that you can say justifiably, I feel bitter, I feel resentment towards that person. But at some point, you begin realizing it becomes an acid. It becomes a poison on the inside of you. And I'm hoping that you don't drink that poison anymore. Release yourself from that emotion. Release yourself towards goodness and accept certain ugly truths. But then stay grounded in your integrity. And when you do, you know that at that point, the narcissist did not win. You're going to be anchored in fairness, that a type of fairness that they'll never know or understand. And I hope that it allows you to stay steady and then ultimately go further and further into your path and your journey towards peace.